Hello, I'm MP. The fact that recently I posted a lot of bike sim videos, well, it doesn't mean that I don't play or enjoy car sims. Maybe to today's standards I have a quite odd taste. As opposed to the massively multiplayer nature of sim racing today, I must honestly admit that I completely grew to hate to race with real people. I did one season of my national ACC championship, and the stupid shit that people were doing on the track, man, it's incredible. And I don't even mention iRacing. Even if the majority of the field are competent race drivers with nice racecraft, still all the time about 25% of people are just, I don't know, lack the ability of common sense. Well, rally is an exception because you have no direct contact between competitors, only you race against the clock. Anyway, for quite a while, instead of being senselessly rammed from behind, I enjoy much more to race against AI drivers. By that sense, I appreciate old Simbin racing games like GTR or GT Legends. The AI is not perfect here, but still makes much more sense than batshit crazy real people in, for example, ACC or iRacing lobbies. Back in 2005, these racing games were primarily designed as single-player experience. So in a way or two, they had to include a somewhat reasonable bunch of machine-controlled opponents. So after a couple of years of multiplayer racing, I noticed that in these old games you can actually race wheel to wheel if you sort of respect the space of the other cars, because they do the same. Well, unless you do some unpredictable shit that people are doing all the time in iRacing or ACC or LMU and the like. If you do so, well, even these cars will crash into you, as it's just there's no way to avoid accidents of stupidity. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to put myself, on a high ground, because I'm stupid, I admit it. And since the memory issues, I'm an official stupid, okay. But as a track racer, I've always been quite respectful, and I'm quite able to make logical decisions. So today's game, GTL, or GT Legends, is from 2005, with cars from the 60s, so they have no assists, no electronics, no ABS, no whatsoever. If you turn or brake too aggressively, then you lose the car. Cornering at the speed means constant drifting, and even if it's not the most up-to-date simulation, still it's based on ISI, a dedicated vehicle simulation that, with the integration of Motec technology, became a race engine for games. The most notable games that derived in a way from ISI and are still played and respected today are AMS and R-Factor 2. So this tiny old game, GT Legends, is a somewhat distant relative to these games. So for me, after having played a lot of racing sims during the last couple of years, well, the physics in GTL makes a lot of sense to me. And because of reactive AI drivers, overtaking is fun. So instead of taking it too seriously, my favorite game inside the game is to set the AI to semi-pro and start from the back of the grid, trying to overtake the field. For this task, I prefer the smallest and the lightest car in this category, a tiny 660 kilos Lotus. Most of the cars are about twice as heavy as this tiny one. In the straight line, I just fall behind. But in the twisties, well, let's see. So from this point it just makes no sense to let the video roll, as besides me chipping away a little bit lap by lap, it shows no action. So this is the final result. Because of the twisty parts with a super light car, I could gain 10 seconds of lead with a twice as powerful car behind. Well, weight matters. Please note that I didn't play the top difficulty. Still, let's face it, going wheel to wheel with a tiny bit of advantage and overtaking and going for the gap is more fun than just, keep your position at high speed. And honestly, just in this race alone, because of reactive AI drivers, I had more joy than in a complete ACC season, racing against real people. NP out. See you somewhere in time.